So a quick note on sharing in Google Drive. So in the beginning of this course, I shared my folder with my teacher. And so down here it says that I did. Now, often I share something with a person and they lose track of it. Maybe they didn't file it in the right spot. Maybe they never looked at it. And so I can always reshare with the same person by just typing their email address, clicking on the right person, and then adding a note to go with it. This. Message. Good idea to put a message when you share with somebody directly. That's one way you can share in Google Drive. Even if you've already shared it with them, you can reshare it. Then they'll get an email that says, hey, this person shared with you. So I'm going to send that off to my teacher. Now, other ways I can share something like this is I can give a link to somebody. So I'm going to go to Get Shareable Link. So typically what will pop up is the link like that. Now, another way, and I can just click on it and Control-C to copy it. So for example, if I need to post a link to something for an assignment, then I can submit it and I can post the link here. If I hit enter, it'll automatically make it a hyperlink in Canvas. And it's not a bad idea to check if the link goes to the right place. So, I might want to double check. Let's see. Make sure that the file is in your CS120 projects folder. So here, I'm pretty sure I have to share that folder. And what did I share? I shared my whole CS120 folder. Okay, so I shared the wrong thing. So let's do that again. So another way to share, besides Get Shareable Link, is just to go straight to share. And if you don't see this part above people, hitting Get Shareable Link will bring it up. And right now it's set to anyone with a link can view. And that's going to be the default once you hit Get Shareable Link. And there are other options that you can pick. Anyone can edit, and then you can go to More. Hitting More here is the same as hitting Advanced down there. And so then it gives me some other options. Typically, its sharing is off, and it's only shared with specific people. Next option up is to share with anyone. And next is to make it public on the web, so it's basically searchable. So somebody, if they did a search for maybe working on a spreadsheet for a loan, somebody might search and find your file and learn how to do that. So, but typically we want this middle option here. So I'm going to save back to what it was. And I'm going to say done for now. To share a folder instead of a file, so for example, under projects, I had an autobiography, and there's a whole bunch of different files. I don't want to share them one at a time. What I'd rather do is share the folder. To share the folder, you can either, when you're viewing the contents of the folder, click the arrow by the name of the folder and get the shareable link, or share directly with an individual. Or in the folder that thing lives in, maybe it's finance, maybe it's autobiography, if you right-click on the folder name, you can either get the shareable link or share directly with a person. So suppose you already shared the main folder, CS120, but you want this person to take a closer look at one part of the main folder. So rather than sharing, say, hey, I already shared this folder with you, look inside there for another folder, you could just reshare something inside of there. So although I've already shared with Gary Parker CS120, I'm going to remind them that there's a special folder inside to look at. So I just type their name in there, and I grab the version, and I say, hey, there is a new folder for your review, or whatever message you need to give them, and then send it off. That gives them an email. Otherwise, you could do something like get the shareable link if you need to put it somewhere where other people can access it. And this says anyone with a link can view. So I click Control-Z to copy. And then over here, I can put different link. So I can paste it in. Notice the address is different. It's got this crazy different code at the end. Remember, often people don't like to look at those crazy links, so I could be more specific. So I could say something like my finance folder, spell today in 9 minutes. How's that? Minutes. There we go. And then if I highlight the phrase my finance folder, I can embed, hide in there that link, Control V. So these two bottom ones go to exactly the same place. This one up here actually goes to, I think that was my CS120 folder. So I'm just going to submit this for fun right now. And after you submit something, you can do a couple of different things later. You can resubmit, and then there'll be multiple submissions in your assignment for your teacher in Canvas, or submission details here will show you what you sent. And so you can click on it, you can double check what you submitted. Did I submit the right stuff? So if I click here, that should take me to my CS120 folder. Oops, that's not where I wanted them to go to. I can check this link. That one opens up my finance folder with my loan tables file. And then this one down here opens up, excellent, my finance folder with my loan table files inside. So that if there were multiple files, then that person would have access to all of them, which is kind of cool. So if you decide you messed up your submission or you just want to do it again, just hit resubmit. That puts the box down here. And you can say actual, whatever you want to do. And you can hyperlink that by highlighting the part of the word or phrase you want. Paste the correct link in there. Resubmit. In Canvas, what your teacher will see is that you submitted more than once, and generally a teacher will look at the first submission, or the newest submission. If that looks good, okay. If it doesn't, then they look back at the other submissions, and they can see anytime you resubmitted. So as the teacher, when I go and look at Bo's submission, I'll see that he submitted twice, and I can check out the links in each submission. So again, the important parts of this here were that there's multiple ways to share in Google Drive. You can share a folder, and that folder can be shared with a link or to an individual. When you share to an individual, you can give them edit access, which is the default, or you can give them view access for a folder. For an individual file, pretty similar. You can share by giving somebody a link to it in maybe an email, or you can share. The default is that they can edit the file. Other options is they can comment on the file, or they can just see the file. Like the GCF we learned files that we looked at, those reviewable files that we get to play with. I hope this helps deal with the differences in the way you can share a Google Drive folder or file. Take care, do good computer stuff, and I'll catch you in the future.